The Yankees are back on top. World champions for the 27th time. The Lakers repeat back-to-back titles. The LA Lakers. Back to throw Montana. Left throws. This fight is over. Floyd Mayweather has a knockout victory over Ricky Hatton. Smiling. Oh! He slapped him! Conor McGregor is the new UFC featherweight champion of the world! Oh! Unbelievable!
Put the countdown mic up! Hell no!
All right, welcome back to Championship Rounds. As always, it is me, Marcel Pierre. It's been a little bit. I took a little bit of time off, had a lot going on, but I'm back now, and that's what's important here. So I got a lot to digest, to unpack, if you will. A lot moving around in combat sports. I realize that there's been some marquee trades going down in the NBA. People picked up. There's been several moves, and also several moves going on in the NFL as well, with the NFL draft on the horizon. All right, a lot of free agents getting picked up. I'm gonna do a separate show for that. This show is gonna primarily be focused on the moving parts in or around combat sports, because I got a lot to unpack here, and I'm gonna go ahead and start out with UFC 260, and that was headlined by the then champion Stipe Miocic, and he was facing in a rematch Francis the Predator Ngannou. All right. Now, the first fight that these gentlemen had was pretty much one-sided. You got Stipe coming in. He was decorated. He's the underdog because you have a menacing figure like Ngannou coming in who could put anybody's lights out in the sport. All he needs to do is connect once. That's what Deontay Wilder said. Well, we'll get to that later. Well, in that original fight, Stipe used his pressure and his wrestling to tire down Francis Ngannou. Francis was beat by round one. I mean, he didn't get finished, which says a lot about Francis's grit and his resolve. You know what I mean? He didn't get took out of there, but he got beat soundly in a very one-sided bout. So fast forward to UFC 260. It's a whole new story. Francis comes out. He's defending the takedowns. He's taking his time. He's doing what he has to do to give himself the opportunity to land that knockout blow without blowing his gas tank in one round like he did the first time. Now, people watch this fight and they say, oh, Francis has improved tremendously since the first fight. He's grown leaps and bounds. You see he's defending that takedown. You see he's taking his time. Yada, yada, yada. All right, well, I think the jury is still out. I can't sit here and say that, oh, he's that much better than he was. I mean, the man has a couple of bouts with Curtis Blaydes already. He defended takedowns in those bouts. And you can say whatever level of wrestling Curtis Blaydes has and match that with Stipe's if you want. But the man has defended takedowns. It's not like, oh, he's never defended a takedown before and he defended one by Stipe. Oh, a couple by Stipe, let's say. So, oh, he's improved so much. Did you see the takedowns that Stipe was trying to get on him? They were not. Stipe barely threw strikes in the first round. The takedowns he went for had no setup. They were easy to defend by anybody that's training any type of wrestling and grappling. Those takedowns were not set up. They were sloppy, labored, and let's face it, desperate. All right? So you put him in there with somebody or put it back in there with Stipe. And Stipe can set up the takedowns, get Francis off balance, change levels when Francis goes to strike, and he'd be able to put him on his butt. But not the wrestling we saw at UFC 260. All right, so if you want to hail Francis Ngannou and say, oh, he's improved so much that we don't, we're not worried about the wrestling anymore, I just want you to pump the brakes on that. The situation definitely didn't call for any type of great takedown defense because the takedowns weren't world-class attempts by any stretch. All right, all the power to Francis. He's the new heavyweight champion of the world. As they say, strap the rocket shit to this guy. But hold on, let's pump the brakes there again. Because you got John Bones Jones on the horizon. Now, John Bones Jones is a great wrestler in his own right. He had 2 fights with Daniel Cormier. And everybody hails Daniel Cormier's wrestling in such high regard, and for good reason. But it was John taking down Daniel in that fight. John showed that his MMA wrestling and grappling was superior to that of Daniel Cormier's. Daniel Cormier took Stipe down. When he actually tried to, he was winning rounds, taking him down. Okay, so with that being said, I know that people don't like to do the math and be like, oh, well, this person did this to that person, so they can do it to this person. All I'm saying is that clearly John Jones's wrestling is above the level of Stipe Miocic. All right, they haven't fought each other. So if the jury's still out on that, then so be it. Stay out on that. That's fine. My point in saying this is that not only does John have that wrestling prowess, but if you put him in there with a Francis Ngannou, John Jones has tremendous kicks. You think he's excellent engaging distance inside the cage. You think he's just gonna let Francis Ngannou close the distance, get in there, and land one of those haymakers? No, he's going to keep him at distance with his kicks, his leg kicks, his body kicks. He's going to mix in some head kicks. And when Francis comes in and overcommits, he's going to put him on his ass. The man has never been defeated. He's never been knocked down, because I do not count the slip during the Dominick Reyes fight. That was not a knockdown. If you guys want to count it, hey, fair play to you. I do not count it. The man's never been finished, never been knocked down, and everybody is obsessed with the sexy pick. Oh, this is the second coming of Mike Tyson. He's going to come in here and knock off heads like he's been doing every single fight. Has he fought John Jones in every single fight? No. Listen, the guys he's knocked out: Cain Velasquez, knocked out by JDS. Stipe, knocked out by DC. And hold on, Stefan Struve, Overeem, too many guys to catalog, knocked him out. Biggie Boy, not knocked out in the UFC, but definitely knocked out in kickboxing. Okay? Arlovsky, definitely knocked out several times. Did you see what Fedor did to him years and years ago? That shit was disgusting. My point in saying this is that every single man that Francis Ngannou has knocked out, including Curtis Blades, Derrick Lewis, including Curtis Blades, has been already sparked unconscious. It's still impressive that he's knocking these guys out, but other guys are doing it or have done it. So it's not like he's doing something that is something we've never seen. Something we've never seen, I'll tell you what, is John Jones getting knocked out, and you ain't gonna see it if Ngannou gets this fight. When Ngannou gets this fight, because yes, John Jones had some demands as far as pay are concerned, and everybody wants to go out and say, oh, John, look at your numbers, look at Connor's numbers, you don't deserve this money, you don't sell enough, you're not exciting enough, people don't watch your fights like they do these guys, you don't deserve the money, just take the fight for whatever contract you're already signed to. That is the dumbest shit I've ever heard. Dumbest shit I've ever heard. Even Conor McGregor, and you can say what you want about his worth, he doesn't take the same contract into the next fight. No, he renegotiates. You got a fight of this magnitude, you'd be stupid. Like Eddie Alvarez, when the UFC went to MSG for the first time and he fought Conor McGregor, he didn't renegotiate, and that was a fight of a tremendous magnitude. The first time in MSG, the fight card was absolutely stacked. You know the pay-per-view is going to sell. Why would you not renegotiate? John Jones isn't Eddie Alvarez. He renegotiated. And he said, "Hey, if you come to me with $8 to $10 million, it's not enough." Derrick Lewis gets out there, tweets, I'll do it for $8 million. Shit. You know what I mean? That's the problem. Everybody wants to compare what boxers get paid to MMA fighters. Okay, there's no unions. There's no unity at all as far as pay goes. So when you got somebody coming out saying that they will take less money, how are MMA fighters going to get paid more when there's cheaper fighters out there? You can't say Derrick Lewis doesn't deserve that fight, even though, I mean, he beat Ngannou already. Even though it was the most boring heavyweight fight in UFC history, he still has a victory over Francis Ngannou. All right, he still has the record for knockouts in UFC heavyweight history. I'm not sure about the rest of the divisions, but I know for sure he has the record for the knockouts in heavyweight history. So you can't deny the guy deserves a title shot, but John Jones deserves it more. The John Jones is the bigger fight. John Jones versus Francis Ngannou, again, has the ingredients to be the biggest fight in UFC history, and definitely the biggest heavyweight fight in UFC history. So don't go out there and say what John Jones deserves, because the UFC has been getting John Jones along with everybody else at a bargain. A bargain. He's been on the clearance rack. They've been getting him for a clearance price. All right? And you can say what you want about John's numbers, but the man is one of a handful of fighters that generate those numbers consistently. He's made millions and millions and millions of dollars for the UFC. He's getting peanuts. The greatest fighter of all time. And you can say what you want about picograms, but if and when, which there's a tweet right here I'm putting up, apparently John Jones met with Dana White and they got the deal done. The fight's on. Don't have a date yet, but the fight's on. And circling back to the picograms. If John Jones comes in already held by most as the greatest of all time, the greatest light heavyweight champion of all time, and he goes in there and defeats Francis Ngannou, the scary, overpowering, lightning in one hand, any hand, just a fucking finisher. If he goes in there and beats that guy, he is the GOAT. I don't want to hear shit else about picograms. I don't care at that point. The man has been passing drug tests. He's passed drug tests before that. Like, it would be absolutely irrelevant to me at that point. It'd be completely over. And speaking of GOATs, Anderson the Spider Silva. I love Anderson Silva for the longest and still is one of my favorite fighters of all time. He should have retired after losing to Weidman the second time. He should have retired after breaking his leg. He's done nothing since but taint his legacy. Okay? You were the guy that did things that people can only imagine happening. And now you're just getting beat left and right and often finished. And now you're going to box Julio Cesar Chavez? Come on, man. Anderson, you were so great in the MMA because not just your boxing, you beat Rich Franklin in the clinch with knees. You beat Vitor Belfort, front kick. Like you're dynamic. You're not some boxing aficionado. You're going in there against a guy that's done it his whole life. And you've been getting KO'd relentlessly. I don't like this fight for you, Anderson. I don't. And if and when you get defeated, I hope it's your last bout, because you were once considered by many, if not all, the greatest of all time. Had you retired after Weidman, you'd probably be still there. You're doing nothing but tainting your legacy, and I hate to see it. Let me move on, because we got a lot of topics to get to. The next thing I want to talk about is Khabib Nurmagomedov vacates. He's retired, so the UFC is moving forward. They're going with Charles do Bronx Oliveira versus Michael Chandler for the UFC lightweight championship, and that fight's taking place May 15th. All right. Everybody wants to be like, okay, what's going on? Oliveira versus Chandler. Oliveira? What about Dustin Poirier? What about Justin Gaethje? Well, Justin Gaethje is coming off of a loss, albeit to the champion, still coming off a loss. I understand why they're not putting him in there. Now, Dustin Poirier is another story. He had a huge victory over Conor McGregor. First guy to finish Conor McGregor with strikes in Conor McGregor's mixed martial arts career. Something to say about that. But he wants the rubber match with Conor McGregor over the belt. So if a guy turns down the belt, obviously people should understand why he's not in the fight for the belt. He wants the money fight. I ain't mad at him. The man has been around the sport for many, many years. He's given blood, sweat, and many tears, I'm sure, in pursuit of greatness in this sport. So good for him. So obviously that leaves you Charles Oliveira, who's on a tremendous winning streak, and the guy that just starts hookering around in Michael Chandler. No, Michael Chandler wasn't champion when he left Bellator. Yes, Michael Chandler, has been defeated by Ill Will Brooks, lost the belt, lost it twice to Ill Will Brooks, who did nothing in the UFC. Yes, Michael Chandler lost by KO to Patricio Pitbull Fury and made him the first champ in Bellator history. Yeah, happened. Okay, so the man definitely shows that he can be defeated. He's lost to Brent Premise. He's took some L's. It's MMA. They all of them take L's. All right, all of them, unless you're Khabib or John Jones. So he's coming in. He had that knockout. You put him in there, give him a title fight. He thinks he's gonna knock out Chandler, or he thinks he's gonna knock out Oliveira. I seen an interview where he said that because of the Paul Felder fight, he saw something in Oliveira that at some point, if you push him, he'll concede the fight. He'll admit to himself that he's been beat and give it to you. Neither here nor there. That Paul Felder fight was forever ago. He wasn't imposing his will the whole time against Kevin Lee. He wasn't imposing his will the entire time against Tony Ferguson. So we'll see if Chandler gets in there and proves that to be true or not. That's fine. But look for that fight to occur on May 15th. And also on the card, moving along, just announced Nathan Diaz versus Leon Rocky Edwards, also on the card, May 15th. And that's UFC 262, and that's a 5-round co-main event. That's so smart. People want to say, and don't get me wrong, this isn't a Conor McGregor hate. I'm wearing a Conor versus Khabib shirt right now. All right, I'm not a Conor McGregor hater. All right, but people want to give Conor credit about going up weight classes when all he's doing is fighting lightweights that ain't cutting weight. Nate Diaz is actually fighting welterweights. Okay, he's actually fought welterweights. I'm not talking about Rory Markham. I'm talking about Dong Young Kim. I'm talking about did he fight Rory McDonald? Irrelevant. He's fighting Rocky Edwards right now. Real welterweights. Real guys that have to cut to get to welterweight. Not guys that got to put on weight or just not cut as much. If at any. So this fight is so smart because Rocky Edwards is right on the cusp of a UFC welterweight title fight. All he's got to do is get one more win or one more impressive win, and a win over Nate Diaz will definitely put him in there. Well, what would a Nate Diaz win over Rocky Edwards do? Put him in contention for whatever he wants to do, because he's that type of fighter with that buzz and following. He can fight for the lightweight belt after that if he wants. He can fight for the welterweight belt after that if he wants. Hell, he could pull out of that fight completely and replace either Chandler or Oliveira for the belt. So he's putting himself in a tremendous position. And in a 5-round co-main event, I like his cardio chances and I like his boxing chances. Leon Edwards is emotional fighter. You saw the 2-piece in Minnesota and how he took that against Jorge Masvidal at a post-fight press conference. So put Nate Diaz in there and get him slapping him around, flipping him off, and talking shit. I've seen Nate Diaz destroy people in there. I'm not saying he will, but I'll be pulling for him to do just that. All right. Moving along. Kind of going long on these topics, my bad. But moving along, you got a fight announced. Robert Whittaker is going to get in there against Kelvin Gastelum. Now, Whittaker, former middleweight champion, took a knockout loss to Izzy Adesanya, and since then he's came back and have looked pretty damn good. He's beat Darren Till, and he's also beat, I always forget this dude's name. Jared Cannonier beat him as well. So he's looked pretty damn good since he's returned from that KO loss. He's still got it. He's right there on the door of another title shot. And again, he's going against Gastelum, who took so many losses in a row after losing to Izzy Adesanya, finally got off the schneid, got himself a victory, and now he's back in there with a title contender and could possibly put himself in position to fight for the belt if he beats Robert Whittaker because of how good of a fight he had with Adesanya in their first bout. So, big fight coming up. Again, that's April 17th. That's your headliner. Moving along. Speaking of Darren Till, I mentioned him because Whittaker defeated him since taking his last loss. He actually pulled out of a fight recently. He was supposed to face Marvin Vettori on April 10th. Now you got Kevin Holland coming in and replacing Darren Till for that fight. Or who's Kevin Holland? People call him Big Mouth. Dana calls him Big Mouth. You saw his last fight where he had a lot of buzz going on or coming into the fight. I did not pick him to win that fight. Why didn't you pick him to win, Marcel? Well, people want to give him credit. He's got great striking. Great striking. Who has the man defeated? Who? And I know everybody's like, did you not see the Jacare Souza fight, bro? Did you not see it? Yeah, I saw it, bro. How old is Jacare Souza? Jacare Souza is nowhere near championship form. He used to be a freaking monster that nobody wanted to fight. He's nowhere near that fighter anymore. He's an old man at the end of his fucking career. And even he was able to get Kevin Holland to the ground. Yes, he made the mistake. He's down there laughing with him. He's down there playing around. Kevin caught him and finished him. Derek Brunson was all business. Derek Brunson didn't even have the gas tank to really defeat a top-tier fighter that night, but he had the gas tank to keep Kevin Holland on his back because Kevin Holland was content on his back. He was content with the open hand palm strikes. He was content with just laying there losing rounds. And that's what I foresee. That's what I foresaw to happen. Brunson using his wrestling, taking him down because he's got way better wrestling than Jacare, and Jacare got him down. So he's coming in here and fighting Marvin Vettori, who isn't a notable grappler. So hopefully we'll get a decent scrap. Hopefully these guys will mix it up and actually exchange some blows, because if it turns into a grapple fest, look for Kevin Holland to lay on his back some more. All right. Moving along. What we got here? Make this one short and sweet. Jose Aldo wants to fight Dominick Cruz in his next fight. Now, Jose Aldo just lost, or actually just beat Chito Vera in his last fight after losing to Peter Yan for the belt. So he's right there. He wants to be bantamweight champion again for the first time. Former featherweight champion. All right, greatest featherweight champion of all time. So he wants to get in there with Dominick Cruz. I don't blame him. Dominick Cruz is a name. Dominick Cruz just beat Casey Kenny. So both of them coming off wins. Makes sense. Big names. Bantamweight division. Both of them are at the end, like toward the end of their careers. So again, the fight makes sense. But Dominick Cruz, well, Chael Sonnen said that during the O'Malley during the O'Malley fight, that Dominick Cruz texted him and said that he wanted to fight O'Malley. Well, he since denied that, so to speak, and pretty much said he's willing to fight anybody. And that's great. It's always good when you hear that from a fighter. So I don't know. Maybe he does eventually get in there with Jose Aldo, but I know O'Malley would like that fight. That'd be the biggest name O'Malley would fight, and he looked tremendous at UFC 262. Looked tremendous. So look for. I mean, I guess the ball is pretty much in Cruz's court. I'm sure O'Malley wants that fight, and Jose wants it. So pick your poison, Dom. Good luck to you. But if you fight Jose, I'll be rooting for Jose. All right. Moving along. A fight that I've been waiting for the longest now. Demetrious Johnson had won the featherweight championship tournament forever ago. And I'm tweeting the guy. I'm like, when are you going to unify with the champion? When are you going to fight for the champion? The greatest featherweight of all time. Lost a controversial split decision to Henry Triple C Cejudo. And then the UFC traded him. He's won. He's done nothing but win since he's been traded. He picked up the tournament championship. So finally, April 7th, one is coming back. Adriano Moraes is going to fight Demetrious Johnson to unify the title. Also on the card, Eddie Alvarez is in the co-main event. Eddie's 1-1 since leaving on that KO loss to, I believe, Poirier in the UFC. And he's 30-7 overall. He's going up against a 14-1 former one title challenger. Good luck, Eddie Alvarez. April 7th, guys. All right. Moving along. Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. Now, this is one of those guys. I always like to keep my receipts because there's too many bandwagon fans in sports. You know what I mean? I like to show that I've been a day one guy and I'm not just picking up on the next fad, the next flash in the pan, the next trendy guy. Like I posted my tweets and communication with Kamaru Usman well before he was on anybody's radar, proclaiming that he would one day be champion because nobody would be able to defeat him. And to this day, I'm still right. Well, I'm not saying Paddy's going to come in here. He just signed with the UFC. He's 26 years old. He's 16-3. He's been a champion of Cage Warriors, featherweight. He tried to get the lightweight champion, do what Conor McGregor did, all at not simultaneous. Fell short there. But the man has a lot of buzz in the UK. He's bigger than Darren Till. Much bigger. He's been selling out arenas for Cage Warriors. Not the UFC, Cage Warriors. So he's signing with the UFC finally. Be interested to see who they put him in there with for his debut. But again, the man is a very, very skilled competitor, mixed martial artist, and look for him to come in there and get some wins. All right. And then we'll see where he's at against the top tier fighters in the world. And we'll see just how far his ceiling could actually be. I'll be rooting for you. That's Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. All right. So the UFC just released guys that have been on losing skids with heavy price tags on them. They've already, let Rumble Johnson sign with Bellator. They got rid of Yoel Romero. I don't need to catalog everybody they've let go, but recently they just let go of Junior Dos Santos, former heavyweight champion, and Alistair Overeem, former Dream champion, former Strikeforce champion, former K1 champion. Let him go. So, Scott Coker, president of Bellator, recently came out and said a Fedor versus JDS or a Fedor versus Overeem makes sense. Makes sense. Now, the heavyweight division over at Bellator, you know what I mean, is decent. You add these two guys, you know, Scott Coker is trying to turn Bellator into what Strikeforce was, if not better. He did tremendous things with Strikeforce. I mean, look at all the guys that came from Strikeforce. Romero himself, Rockhold, Daniel Cormier. Like Robbie Lawler came back from Strikeforce to win UFC gold. So all I'm saying is that the man knows what he's doing over there. Definitely. And I understand why he has that job. One of the best guys for it. One of the best guys not named Dana White for that job. Way better than that of Bjorn Rebney. All right. So look for those guys to get signed because I'm sure they're both not trying to be done. They both feel like they have more left in the tank. And since a promoter is already expressing interest, look for those guys to get snatched up pretty quickly. All right. We are going to move on to boxing here. Okay, we got some tremendous games, if you will, or should I say losses, because Tyson Fury is in tremendous shape ahead of his Anthony Joshua bout. He's in the best shape I've ever seen him in his entire fighting career. Now, this is interesting because Tyson Fury is a technician. He's very smart. He's got one of the brightest boxing minds probably in the sport right now. Okay, so you saw him gain weight to fight Deontay Wilder, to fight a style where he bullied Wilder and kept Wilder on the back foot, and he ended up finishing Wilder. You see the difference in contrast? Now he's in tremendous shape. He's very, very trim. He's going the cardio route with Anthony Joshua, who, by the way, also went the cardio route after losing to Anthony Ruiz. So both of these guys are valuing cardio, just like Stipe did in the rubber match versus Daniel Cormier. These guys want to have their gas tank. So they're expecting to be in there for the long haul. I'm sure either one of them would like to get the other one out of there. But they want to be there cardio-wise. Something my coach always instilled in me, my high school football coach, when he preached cardio and being in shape, deserving to win. Fatigue makes cowards of us all. And neither one of them want to be in there in that long of a fight and not have their lungs, not have their legs. So I understand. I completely understand the move. So that just adds a new wrinkle to the Fury Joshua fight. And a lot of you guys were already picking Fury to win anyways. Now you guys are like, oh, there's no way he's losing. Stipe came into the Ngannou fight. Now I understand these guys aren't the level of boxing as what we're talking about right now. But what they are is that level of mixed martial artists. Okay? Stipe came in light. Francis did not. You saw what happened. Now, again, Tyson Fury, he's not a small guy. Anthony Joshua, he's not a small guy. Keep your eyes on that weigh-in. Be interesting to see what they actually come in for the fight. All right. Keeping on the boxing kick, finally, Terrence Bud Crawford is getting a damn name. Okay, this fight's possible for June 5th in Abu Dhabi because those guys get all the best fights now. They have the dollars to get all the best fights. Not hating on them, but you got Pacquiao coming in, and he's facing Crawford. I'm pumped about this fight. I think Crawford is the best fighter in the world right now. Better than all the guys that people know, like Errol Spence, Again, I'm not going to catalog the names, but I'm just saying I'm glad that he's getting this fight. And I think when he beats Pacquiao, because I know that's going to happen, he's going to get, the door's going to be open for him to get even more big marquee fights. So look for that fight again, possible for June 5th, but the fight is signed. All right. Women's boxing, but not women's boxing, women's mixed martial arts. Clarissa Shields is making her Professional Fighters League debut. That's MMA. There's no date on this yet, but the report recently came out that she was training with the likes of Holly Holm and yes, Johnny Bones Jones. All right, so she's probably down at Jackson Winklejohn in Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's where they train. So she's training with the right people. She's got some great MMA minds behind her. You saw what they did with the boxer in Holly Holm, even though she had kickboxing experience, to begin with. But Mike Winklejohn has had Holly Holm her whole career, boxing, kickboxing, and MMA. And you saw what he did with her. So she's got the right people behind her. And like I said, they're going to feed her tomato cans anyways. So this is just making it worse on the tomato cans. All right. Oscar De La Hoya. This is getting ridiculous. All right. I get the intrigue when Mike Tyson was facing Roy Jones Jr. way past his prime. Both of them. But this is getting ridiculous. So how many old man fights are we going to get now? I guess we're going to get Holyfield versus Tyson again. Oscar De La Hoya is coming out saying he's going to fight Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather agrees to a lot of fights, but we'll see. The fights aren't material until they're signed. And I haven't seen anywhere where he said he agreed to that. But apparently Oscar De La Hoya is coming back and he's going to return on July 3rd. I'm not intrigued at all, but I'll probably watch just because I'm a combat sports junkie. That's the only reason. Other than that, I have no interest. We'll see who his opponent is. Maybe my interest level will change. Keeping on that comeback tip, Misha Tate is returning to MMA after losing her belt to Amanda Nunes at UFC 200 and then giving a lifeless performance against Raquel Pennington in her last UFC fight where she told her corner, and I quote, "I just don't want it anymore." Well, apparently she wants it again. I'm not going to sit here and debate what her reasoning to come back is, but she's coming back. She's facing Marion Renault, who is 40 years old, or more than that even, and has lost her last few fights. Good fight for her to come back in, get her feet wet. Marion Renault's still a good fighter, not trying to shit on her. But yes, Misha Tate making her return against Renault, and that's July 17th. All right. Super Sage Northcut returns to one championship after nearly 2 years. And that's occurring on April 28th. And Sage got in there and got absolutely starched in his first fight of one championship. It was disgusting. Hate to see a guy get destroyed like that young in his career. Hopefully, when they bring him back here on April 28th, the matchmaking is more even level. Okay, you want to get his confidence. Say you can promote Sage Northcut. You got to get his confidence up because to promote him, he's got to win. Okay, the man looks like an action figure. All right, it's got a couple more things to touch on here, and then we'll get out of here. Undefeated WBC lightweight champion Devin Haney is going to defend his belt. He's returning. I didn't get the date on this. I don't know. If you guys got the date on it, look that up. But the fight is signed. It's Jorge Linares. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. I'm not familiar with him. He's an older fighter. He's 35 years old. That's pretty old in boxing, unless you're like Floyd Mayweather or Manny Pacquiao, apparently. Or Oscar De La Hoya, because apparently he's not too old to box. But yeah, the guy's 47-5 in his career is Jorge. So or George. I don't know what he goes by. He spelled his name just like Jorge Rivera or Jorge Masvidal, so I'm going to pronounce it Jorge. But again, Devin Haney is undefeated. He's 22 years of age, 25-0. Look for him to get in there and look impressive and win that fight because he's got all the youth and all the confidence on his side. All right. Devin Haney. Last thing, Dillian Whyte avenged his loss against Alexander Povetkin via 4th round TKO. Now, if you saw that first fight, you saw Dillian Whyte hurt Povetkin pretty good, pretty early, and everybody thought he was going to win the fight, and everybody thought it was going to be by KO. Well, Povetkin got his ass off that canvas and sent Dillian Whyte straight to the deepest, darkest corner of Hades and won the bout. Well, Dillian Whyte got back in there with him because apparently they had a rematch clause, and he handled his damn business. Will they do the rubber match? I don't know, but I think Dillian Whyte is trying to angle for a rematch or possibly a Wilder fight or the winner of Fury versus Anthony Joshua, because he's only lost in his career before losing to Povetkin and getting upset was Anthony Joshua. What do I think is going to happen? I think if Fury wins, he retires from the sport. He has nothing left to prove. He would have beaten Klitschko. He would have beaten Wilder. He would have beaten Joshua. He would have unified every single belt there is. Why the hell would he go on after that? He doesn't need the money. He gives his purses away to charity historically. So he would have nothing left to gain from taking another bout. Now, so he's not getting the Fury bout. Dillian Whyte, his best wish would be for a Joshua win, because then he could probably get the rematch. Okay, so, and as far as Wilder goes, apparently he's going to fight Ruiz. That's what's being rumored. I haven't seen that anything's been signed, but that's been rumored. All right. That's it, guys. Champ rounds. And I ain't going to take as long to come back next time. But it's been real. I'm done here. Until next time, stay frosty, my friends.